Good evening and welcome to today's episode of the program, The Law, the People and Governance here on Spectrum Television. My name is Rachel David White. All right, so today on the program, we'll take a look at a large report by the DSS about some people who intend to introduce interim government in Nigeria and, of course, impose it on Nigerians as well. Well, we'll take a look at that particular topic and, of course, get to find out your reactions as to what this truly means if it finally comes to stay in Nigeria. Is this what Nigeria needs? Is this going to be good for Nigeria? This is what we are going to find out in the course of this program today. Don't forget that this program, The Law of the People and Governance, is a program that exists to bridge the gap between the people and the government, and of course explains government policies to the people and takes feedback from the people to the government as well. And today we're being joined live in the house by Barrister Martins Ukwe, a human rights lawyer who's always been here with us. Welcome, Barrister.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
All right, so a quick one. Nigeria is one of the largest countries in Africa with a population of over 200 million people. And it is a multi-ethnic and a multi-religious nation with a variety of political parties and an economy that is heavily reliant on its vast oil reserves. Now, in spite of economic growth, poverty and inequality remains prevalent, and corruption is a major issue. Political crisis and policy stasis can also undermine government efforts to address the significant challenges facing the nation. It is becoming increasingly apparent that political instability and a dependence on oil revenues are making it difficult for the Nigerian government to effectively provide for its citizens and to, of course, propel the nation forward. In such a situation, we would say the country could be at risk of a transition. And Nigeria's secret police, the State Security Services, that's the SSS, on Wednesday announced that some key players are plotting an unconstitutional interim government for Nigeria, confirming an alarm that had been raised weeks before the general elections. The agency said it considers the plot as an aberration and a mischievous way to set aside the constitution and undermine civil rule, as well as plunge the country into an unavoidable crisis. A statement by the DSS spokesperson Peter Afunaya said the planners in their many meetings have weighed various options, including, sponsoring endless violent mass protests in major cities to warrant a declaration of state of emergency. Another is to obtain frivolous court injunctions to forestall, of course, the whole process. Now, since the announcement of Ahmed Bola Tinubu as the winner of the February 25th presidential elections and declared president-elect by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, there have been mixed reactions. While many celebrated the victory of Tinubu, others condemned it, I would say a vast majority. And outside litigations prominently advanced by the Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party, civil society groups have, saturated the public space with supporting and counterclaims that the elections were compromised. LP PDP presidential candidate Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar claimed they were cheated, asking the election tribunal to grant them justice, while their supporters keep hope on the expectations of the court upturning Tinubu's victory at the poll. Well, the Department of State Services have come with something that I would say is shocking to Nigerians. But let's get to find out more about this. Welcome once again, Barrister.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Okay, well, the DSS has claimed that there are plots by some key players, the big wigs in the country, to manipulate the constitution and put that aside in order to bring an interim government in Nigeria. What do you have to say about that? What's your reaction to that development?
Thank you very much, Rachel.
Now, also, when you're responding, note that this is coming from, I would say, a very strong agency, one that is worth dependent on.
Very well then, coming from one of the security an elite security outfit of the presidency, because the Department of State Service is an elite security agency that is under the control and the watch of the presidency. It therefore means that any information that comes out from such elite security outfit should be reliable. Stemming from that, first of all, without sharing the sentiment of the DSS, I would like to join
SSS, State Security.
Service. Yes. Without sharing their sentiment, I would like to join well-meaning Nigerians to condemn, if at all there is any such plot, an attempt to impose an interim national government in Nigeria. First and foremost, interim national government in Nigeria is unlawful. It is alien to our laws, to the ground norms of Nigeria. It does not have a legal framework in Nigeria. In fact, to say the least, it will amount to pocket of illegalities. We last experienced interim national government in 1993, and that was under the watch and the shepherding of the military junta of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Of course, we know the accompanying antecedents of military government. One of such accompanying antecedents is the suspension of the Constitution of Nigeria. Once the military steps into power, the first step taken by the military is to suspend the Constitution of a country. But in this issue, we are still under a democratically elected government. We are still under civil rule. This is an attempt to undermine the democratic principles of Nigeria. And as such, it is condemnable. If there is any such plot, then it must be by those who are enemies of Nigeria. If there is any such attempt to impose interim government after an electoral process have been taking place, duly conducted, and the body that is vested with the powers to conduct election have declared a winner, then such attempt is against all well-known and recognized ethics and laws of Nigeria. However, having said that, it must be noted, some times ago, few months ago, the same state security service, the secret police, came up with, I would say, frivolous allegations against the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, alleging that the CBN governor is one of those, has been fingered as one of those sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, and went further to a federal high court to obtain an order to arrest and detain the CBN governor. And maybe,
but it wasn't granted.
Of course, how would the court of law, court of justice, grant such a ridiculous application?
But don't you think there should have been a form of investigation?
I'm coming, Rachel.
Okay.
First and foremost, let me inform you this. The act that creates the secret police empowers the secret police to carry out internal security and internal investigation in order to protect the sovereignty of the state, Nigeria. Now, the question is, why did the secret police went ahead to apply to a court of law in order to get an order to arrest the CBN governor and subsequently detain the CBN governor? That is not what we are discussing now. Now, at the end of it all, up till today, the secret police, the state security service, has not come out with facts. They are working for Nigerians. They are not working for themselves. They have every right, and Nigerians have every right to be briefed on the facts and the findings of the secret police.
You're right.
Up to today, the SSS have not come out to address Nigerians on their fact findings on the alleged sponsorship of terrorism by the CBN governor. It shouldn't have ended at the decision of the court. If the DSS felt that they had substantial proofs and evidence that terrorism in Nigeria is being sponsored by the CBN governor, they should have come out with proof to Nigerians. But up to today, they haven't done that. And I think the DSS were just making frivolous attempts, frivolous allegations in order to arrest the CBN governor for political interest.
Okay,
and here,
so you
they
think
are coming out again. Yes.
You think that they have been compromised as well?
Of course. This is supposed to be an elite security outfit in Nigeria. But they have been compromised severally. Not just once, not just twice.
What are your proofs that they have been compromised?
Of course, one of the proof is that if the secret police were not compromised, they should have come out. After the court denied them the application to arrest and detain the CBN government, they should have come out with facts after their findings to tell Nigerians these are verifiable facts that we have within our purview to buttress our allegations.
Okay, let me understand you, barrister. Let me understand you.
It's one of the sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria.
Okay, now what
Rachel, I wouldn't want us to digress from our. Okay. Yes, let's not go.
No, we're still talking about the the fact that SSS may have been compromised. Now, I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, you're right that they should have come out to say, okay, fine, this is the reason that we are giving you proofs to go ahead and detain and arrest the CBN governor. So does it mean that they have been compromised to, pipe low? That's why they had to let the case die? It's
not only about being compromised. There is a high-profile sabotage in the supposed elite security network of Nigeria. Here in Nigeria, we have the State Security Service, the SS, and the DSS, which is their main duty, as it is called, the secret police, is to ensure a detailed investigation of any attempt by an individual or group of persons to undermine the security and internal security of Nigeria. So with treason, treasonable felony, an attempt to overthrow the federation, the country, and to also ensure security of the bounds of Nigeria. Now, in a summary, the duty of the secret police is to gather information about the safety and security of the country. Now, if any, I might be quoted, it could be disputed anyways, but I am standing on my grounds that the elite security network has been sabotaged by those inside the secret police. Now, they are coming out with another allegation, alleging that there are some entrenchers who are up again to impose an interim government. Of course.
So there are tendencies that they may wake up and just let this slide
Peter
as well.
Funanya, the director of media of the secret police, he said that the secret police have uncovered plots by some entrenchers who are bound on imposing
some key players in the country,
imposing interim government, and thereby truncating the process of transition from one government to the other. Now, if the DSS are well grounded with what they are saying, I challenge the DSS. Let them come out with their facts. Let them name the names of the people that they felt are those who are.
Of course, according to them, they have the names of these people.
Then, if they have the names, let them say it out. Let them place it before Nigerians.
Okay,
because we want to know those who are behind the plot.
Okay.
We are tired of theoretical framework. We are tired of bookworks. Over time, the DSS have been giving us bookworks, and we have been somehow believing in them.
So you need action.
Now, this is an allegation that will amount to, in the military parlance, it is called mutiny. Now, if you look at the laws of the edicts, sorry, not the edict, the decrees of the military, if a military personnel is being arraigned before a martial court for an alleged mutiny, so it is called treason. Now, the offense is a capital, the punishment is a capital punishment. Therefore, this is not a matter that the DSS should play upon. If one of those they are alleging, or the person they are alleging, should be arraigned before a court of law. The punishment is a capital punishment, and as such, the DSS have every right to come out. Rachel, we have seen these things for over time. The DSS have told us that they have uncovered plot by those sponsoring, that they are going to list the names of those sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. Years ago, up to today, they have not named one person.
Okay, now you talked about transition of power from one government to the other. The statement from the DSS, okay, as criticized, would I say, attempting to get court injunctions to bar the president from transiting power to President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What does the law say about power transition?
Very well. Elections is not an event. It is a process. Now, the process starts.
But it looks like an event in Nigeria.
No, it is not. I will tell you how the process works. Now, it starts from the mandate of the political parties conducting their respective primaries to the respective offices. That is step one.
The first event.
Yes, you move from that to the main election conducted by a body vested by the law to conduct election and declare results, which is the INEC. And after that, we move on to the next step, which is the tribunal. And the level we are now, we are at the level of the tribunal. Elections, parties have finished their primaries. Elections have been conducted. Results have been declared. We know whom the commissions have declared winners and losers. Now, there is an avenue to ventilate your grievances. If you are not satisfied by the result so far declared by the commission, then of course the tribunal is one window for you to ventilate your grievances. It is actually out of our laws, well-known established laws of Nigeria, that an individual will ever think on taking a shorter route to becoming one thing or the other. I must express this sentiment personally, because the major players in this election were just 4 political parties. One, the ruling All Progressive Congress, the People's Democratic Party, the main opposition, the Labour Party, and the Kwankwasia NNPP. Now, of course, PDP have come out to say, quoting from the public secretary of the PDP, and of course the media directorate of the presidential campaign council of the PDP, they have asked the DSS to investigate and arrest and bring to book the alleged plotters of the so-called interim government. It is only Labour Party that have taken a different swipe at the statement of the.
That's
SSS.
them saying they are not involved in
yes,
that.
now the Labour Party is saying, where were the secret police when they were ostracizing lawful citizens of Nigeria in the West from voting? Where were the secret police when some persons and some group of persons were unleashing terror on citizens of Nigeria and barring them from voting? Where were the secret police when some group of hoodlums were unleashing mayhem on citizens of Nigeria during elections? However, they are not saying that they are the ones who are responsible for the allegations put forward by the secret police. They are just towing a different path. But the People's Democratic Party are very straight and very trite in their position. They are saying, if the DSS said they have uncovered any plots by some persons or group of persons in Nigeria to enthrone and such an illegal government,
so should there be accusing fingers pointing at the Labour Party?
Of course, I am not saying so, but I am responding according to the statement made by the different political parties. Now, let me go back to the DSS. I am saying that we are sick and tired of speculations. We want to deal with facts. we are all Nigerians. The secret police, if they have their fact, let them place it before Nigerians, and this will be highly condemned. Of course, when you place a fact before the people, so we can know whom we are talking about, we can know whom we are targeting, we can know who we are addressing. Like now, if the secret police have come out with names of Nigerians whom they feel, whom they have strongly believe have hands in the plot, I will personally target them in my sessions. But here we are just throwing our opinions to the air, because you don't know anybody who is behind the plot. So I am urging them to come out direct and address Nigerians.
Okay, well, this is back to the people. In case you're just tuning your TV, then this is the program, The Law, the People, and Governance, here on Spectrum Television. And we are taking a look at the alert report by the the SSS rather, talking about people or key players in the country, key politicians, the big wigs who are plotting to impose an interim government on Nigerians. So what is your reaction? Do you think Nigeria needs such a thing at this time? Do you think that we should go into such things? Or what do you have to say? What is your reaction? Let's get to find out. The phone number is displayed on your TV screen, so you can be part of the conversation. Put a call across to us, send a text message or a WhatsApp message. We'll have in the house Barrister Martins Ukwe, a human rights lawyer, who is here to, of course, tell us more about what we need to know about Nigerians' interim government, of course, if such a thing would ever happen. Now, Barrister, I would ask, is it unlawful to secure maybe a court injunction restraining, the swearing in of an elected officer? All
right. Now, as a lawyer, if I'm approaching the court with an application for an injunction, we have different types of injunctions. Let me just mention a few. We have interlocutory injunction, we have interim injunction, and we have pillar injunction. Now, these different injunctions serve different purposes. You must know the reason for making an application and terming such application interlocutory, terming such an injunction interim, and terming such an injunction pillar, or anyhow you deem it fit. You do not just, the court is not a Father Christmas. They do not give to you what you did not ask for. You must ask specifically what you want from the court, and the court gives to you when it is your due. Those who are planning to approach the court, or of course, if at all they have done so, approaching the court to stop the swearing in of the president-elect, what are their grounds? You must have your grounds, which forms part of your prayers. What are you praying the court for? On what grounds are you raising your prayers to the court, asking the court to stall the inauguration of the president-elect? The law is very trite. Of course, the present president, the incumbent president, Muhammadu Buhari, the law is clear that he can't exceed 29th of May in Aso Rock. He must, as a matter of necessity, as a matter of the law, leave Aso Rock on the 29th. In fact, before 29 May, because on the 29th of May, there must be new occupant of that office. Therefore, it is very clear that Buhari cannot exceed 29 May. Another president must come in. And Nigeria, we always say that government is in continuum. Therefore, there must not be any vacancy in government. We can't have a vac government. We can't have a government where the incumbent president has left the office, and of course, you do not have another. That will amount to anarchy. So, the law is very clear. The president-elect, as declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission, must be sworn in on the 29th of May. Of course, like I said, there are windows, there are open doors for those who are grieved, who feel that the process was not on merit, who feel that the process was not properly conducted, for them to approach the court. Of course, the appeal court sits as the Presidential Election Tribunal. And after the appeal court, you still have another window to contest the decision of the appeal court at the Supreme Court. So there is nothing on ground right now for anybody or group or any person or group of persons to approach any court of law in Nigeria asking the court to restrain
Okay.
or stop the swearing in of the president-elect. The president-elect must be sworn in, and he will be sworn in on the 29th of May. While the third level of the election goes on, which is the tribunal. This does not in any way impede the process of the tribunal. This in any way does not stop the outcome of the tribunal. However, I know that we are in Africa. Some persons may have expressed this opinion that swearing in the president will amount to granting more powers to the now president-elect, who will become the president on 29th May, to censor the process of the tribunal,
Yes.
and of course influence the decision.
But is that
and the
true?
outcome.
Is there a possibility that that can't happen?
Of course. How can we rule out that possibility? We are Nigeria.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So we are not ruling out that possibility. But for now, we must keep our faith on the judiciary. The test is on the judiciary. So anybody who is planning an interim government, or anybody who is planning on approaching the court, of course the doors of the court are always open. So you have the right to approach the court. But your application to the court must not be frivolous. It must not be abuse of court process. So if you are approaching the court, you must know that you have your grounds of raising such application to the court.
But is there possibility? Is there possibility
of a president?
Is there possibility that the president may step into office and, of course, just ask the court to pipe low, lower their guard concerning the petition that other parties, aggrieved parties, had brought?
Well, I want to bear relief from my very revered, learned senior in the legal profession, a man that I admire so very much. I'm referring to a senior advocate of Nigeria, Falana. Now, of course, I watched him the other day. He was talking tough, and I really admired his audacity. And I also want to make a reference to a one-time president of the Nigerian Bar Association. I'm talking about Olisa Abakoba. These two persons have come out to make strong statements about the credibility, about the integrity of the court. Before now, of all the judicial precedents that I have read, records of the court that I've gone through, you could reliably rely on the outcome. You could possibly permutate the outcome of the court in some issues, in some matters, especially when the facts are very clear. But of recent, the judgments that are coming out, especially from our apex court, is mesmerizing.
When you say mesmerizing in a negative or a positive way?
Of course, in the negative way. The judgments that are coming out from the Supreme Court, these are judgments that you will just sit down at the convenience of your home and begin to reason and ask yourself, are these judgments actually coming out from our last and final court? Of course, Rachel, the court is not only court of law, the court is also the court of justice and court of equity. Therefore, justice should not only be dispensed on the basis of law, it must also be dispensed on the basis of justice.
No, it seems
and equity.
It seems talking
I am
about,
coming.
Okay.
I'm coming, please. I don't want you to take me away from
no
the
problem.
fact. Now, look, going back to the issue on ground, which is the tribunal. You see, some people have lost hope in the judiciary, and I'm sorry to say this, but me, I have not lost hope in the judiciary, because I am still hoping and believing that the judiciary will do justice to the issue on ground, which is the petition that have been filed by the Labour Party and the PDP against the election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have not lost hope, but maybe the reasons you have seen some persons decide to take the unlawful way is because they have lost hope in the judiciary. Let me put this before you now, or before Nigerians. The affirmation of the Senate President Ahmad Lawan as the authentic flag bearer of Yobe North Senatorial District of the APC. Up to today, I stand to condemn that judgment by the Apex Court. For whatever purpose, for whatever intent, and for whatever reason, the Apex Court lacks all moral rights and all known ethical and lawful principles of the law to have declared Ahmad Lawan the authentic candidate of the of APC.
Now that brings
now,
me to what I wanted to say there.
This is why you have seen some persons have lost hope in the judiciary. Some persons have already concluded that it is our Nigerian judiciary. Of course, they know the outcome. Of course, some people have gone the extent of saying that no Nigerian presidential election have ever been annulled. Of course, it will never be annulled. What do you think of such statements? What do you think of such permutation? What do you think of such assertion? What do you think of such opinion? These are opinions that have influenced people's psychology. And of course, you know what orientation means. Once you have been given a different orientation and you have been made to believe on something which might not actually be, because like I said, the test is on the judiciary now. Some persons have already concluded in their opinion that the court will not do anything positive. The court will not do anything that will run in consonance with the perceived reflections of the wishes of Nigerians. And as such, that is why you may have seen some person trying to take the short route in order to stall the inauguration of the president-elect. Of course, they are also believing that if they are successful in stalling the inauguration of the president-elect, it will also help in the outcome of the decisions of the court. Okay. Yes.
Okay. There's one question I'm going to ask you. Maybe that would be towards the end of the show. Now, but you know, in the succession scheme, right? What happens when the current administration leaves office on May 29th, and then maybe the court, you know, finally cancels the elections and wants a rerun? What happens to that void that is being left? What happens?
All right. I am not in the position to preempt the court.
We're just imagining.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
Yes. Having not been in the position to preempt the court, the time frame for election petitions are well stipulated in the Electoral Act. The time frame from the time of election to that of the swearing in is supposed to be a time for litigation. And of course, there must be an outcome. This is as speculated by the law. But however, it doesn't end in the appellate court, in the appeal court. So if the appeal court gives its judgment on the matter, whether it goes this other way or this other way, there is one other room to contest the decision of the Presidential Election Tribunal, which is the appeal court, which is the next one is the Supreme Court. Therefore, within that time, I don't know if it will actually affect, if it will get to the time of the transition, because transition is in 29 May, which is ending of May. Therefore, I believe the appeal court will come out with their decision. And also, the time to contest the decision of the appeal court at the Supreme Court, it will not necessarily affect the swearing in of the president.
Okay.
Therefore, what I'm saying is that both courts, the decision of the both court will likely come out before 29 May.
Okay. Well, okay, once again, let me remind the people that they are watching the program, The Love the People and Governance in Spectrum Television, and we're talking about the alleged plots by some key makers, by SSS, reported by the SSS, by some key makers of key politicians in the country to impose interim government in Nigeria. Well, you can be a part of the show by calling the phone number displayed on your screen or sending us a WhatsApp or a text message. Now, immediately this was said yesterday, a whole lot of reactions sparked up. We had reaction from the former Nigerian lawmaker, Senator Shehu Sani. We had from Adeyeye, of course. Now, do you think that they should have come out publicly to make this claim, or they should have gone secretly to, you know, maybe investigate, get some facts before coming out to just openly say it and mention names like you said before?
I think, from my own personal opinion, I want to believe that the DSS doesn't have any facts before Nigerians. Yes.
What are you basing your belief on? Past happenings, past events,
I am basing my belief on precedent.
Okay.
We have had so many times on different issues in Nigeria, whereby the secret police will come out with academic exercise. This is yet, I must say, another academic exercise by the secret police. I think the secret police are just trying to work on the psychology of Nigerians. This is a reverse psychology. They are trying to work on the psychology of some Nigerians who may have thought of the idea of bringing an interim government.
According to them, sorry to pause you, according to them, their intention is to maybe cause ginger, yeah, let me use the word ginger, you know, protests, you know,
okay,
and that will lead to maybe declaring a state of emergency or
if,
something.
Rachel, if the permutation or if the assertion by the State Security Service is predicated on the protests that have been going on, of course, I've seen footages
but we've
of
had
protests
a peaceful
that
one.
happened in Nasarawa State, and of course in Rivers State and some other states, even in Ekiti State. The law is very clear. The citizens of a country of Nigeria are entitled
to a peaceful demonstration.
So the DSS does not have any right to base their assertion,
but you can't be sure,
on the protests that are going on. I've seen, even outside Nigeria, I've seen in some embassies outside Nigeria where people are protesting. Of course, it's not only about the protest. What do the secret police also have to say about those who are demonstrating in support of the president-elect? It happened day before yesterday in Abuja. It also happened in Nigerian embassy in France. People demonstrating in support of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. They are saying, in your mandate, we stand. So the protest is a cross protest, is a protest and counter protest. These ones are saying, INEC, give us our mandate. These ones are saying, on your mandate, we stand. Of course, so we are having a cross protest here. The DSS does not have any right to predicate the assertion on the fact that protests are going on. Of course, there is no way they can stop protests in a country like Nigeria, because the government itself are not ready to sit up. And of course, the only way to remind the government of the little vows, the promises, the little principles of law that is remaining at the doorstep of the government, which the government must constantly obey for the protection of the civil rights of the citizens, is one of those is protest, is peaceful demonstration, is what labor organizations call strikes.
But
there are so many other ways
so far
to
in
go
Nigeria,
about it.
you want to trust
Now,
okay, go ahead.
Now, the DSS shouldn't come out with academic exercise to tell Nigerians, oh, we have uncovered plot. Since you have uncovered plot, I am daring them, I am challenging them that they should come out with facts. They should place their flag before Nigeria, because the DSS are not only working for the presidency, they are also working for Nigerians. Now, let me remind you this, Rachel. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, day before yesterday addressed Nigerians that the presidency is ready to, of course, hand over power peacefully to the next government, to the president-elect. Of course. Now, that is an assurance on the part of the government, the incumbent government, meaning that the incumbent government is 100% ready for a peaceful transition, meaning that there is no iota of truth in what the DSS are saying. Anybody that wants to doubt what I'm saying should contest it logically. There is no other person, body, group of persons, authority that is vested with the power to set up interim government. Am I right? It is the government of the day that has such powers. Non-state actors cannot come from the dorms to set up interim government. Interim government, of course, as it was set up in 1993, was made a legitimate government. And it's only a legitimate government that has the power to set up another legitimate government. Call it interim government. In 1993, when the election of, not even the election, when the victory of MKO Abiola was nullified, of course it was not even announced. The election was just nullified, but it was perceived that he was the winner. So when the election was nullified, the Babangida junta brought in Chief Ernest Shonekon and of course put the structure called interim national government in place, and the interim national government lasted for 83 days. Of course, this interim national government was a legitimate government because it was set up by the government that was in place. It was set up by yet another legitimate government. So are the DSS now telling us that it is non-state actors that are coming from behind or are coming from the window to set up an interim government for us?
Of course, they alert there's going to be war,
if that is the case, Rachel, the DSS will be making an indirect accusation on the part of the Muhammadu Buhari led government. They are accusing directly that it is the government of Buhari that wants to set up an interim government.
Well, they haven't come out to say that, right?
A political party, say Labour Party, lacks all democratic, civil, legal, and constitutional powers to set up interim government in Nigeria. Then the question is, who are the DSS referring to here? And I will say they are directly referring to the presidency. Well,
in your words.
Yes.
Well, how long do you presume that? I know you've talked about that before.
I've given you this sequentially and logically.
Now, okay, you know, it took so long to find out that Abiola was actually the winner of the 1993 elections.
It took so long?
So now, it took time to discover that Abiola was actually the winner after the elections were nullified.
No,
actually.
it did not take so long. It did not take any long to discover that Abiola was the winner. Now, remember, it was not the system of balloting that we are using now. Of course, it was option A4.
Yeah.
So it was very simple to know immediately after the elections were concluded. Of course, it was a one-day election. So it was very simple to know the next day after elections were concluded, and all the persons queued behind the political party that they wanted to queue. So it was very simple to know that Abiola, MKO Abiola, won the election.
If you want to compare that process, right, with the process we have right now, which one would you opt for?
Well, I came here after the elections and I told you that we never had any elections in Nigeria. What we had was electoral theft.
Okay.
So, using that word, I am telling you that except and otherwise, something is being done to strengthen our electoral process. I would totally condemn the process of election that we are using now. And I will even advise Nigerians basically on one reason. Because of the present economic quagmire where we have found ourselves, I will advise Nigeria that we revert to the option A4, which was more transparent. Of course, there has never been an election in Nigeria that has been given that credence, that credible credence to that of the 1993 election that produced MKO.
Of course, there's always a chance that we always have to refer back to the 1993 elections.
But it is highly regrettable that we still, after years,
we still haven't gotten it right.
We still have to refer to that 1993 election as one of the most credible and most fairest election in the history of Nigeria. Because I was actually thinking that the 2003 election will, the 2023 election will, of course, overtake the credibility of the 1993 election. It is highly regrettable.
All right, Barrister, at this point, we should be rounding up. So what are your last words for Nigerians who are patiently and peacefully watching out the whole process and the whole transition process? I'm
very surprised that we are approaching 6 o'clock.
I know you want to talk more.
Of course. I still have a lot to talk. Like I said when we started, election is not an event. For those who were declared losers, of course, they might not actually be losers. That is if only our judicial system will live up to the expectation of Nigerians, and not just Nigerians. I want to advise those in the bench. I am at the bar, and The bench is a very revered, highly elevated and respected but coveted angle of our system in Nigeria, of our government. There is this level of respect that those at the bench are being seen. I am sounding this to my father, a man that I've seen as my father, the Chief Justice of Nigeria. The test is on him. Just like I saw footages of protests in Abuja yesterday where people were saying, Mahmoud, Ole, Mahmoud, Ole, Mahmoud, Ole. Mahmoud, a thief, Mahmoud, a thief. Ole, of course, a Yoruba language meaning thief. I felt for him. I felt for his family. This is a very emotional time, a very trying time for him and his family. This he has created a name for his family that will take centuries for that name to be deleted, for that name to be wiped up. And of course, it is not a good name. So I'm using this opportunity to urge those at the bench, the appeal courts and the Supreme Court, to dispense justice without fear or favor. Of course, you know that you are not the Supreme Judge, that the Supreme Judge is up there who is going to judge you. So when you are giving your judgment, you must remember the oath of equality, the oath of office, the oath of integrity that you swore to dispense justice without fear or favor. You must remember the credibility, credence that the people have placed on you. You must remember everything, and not just for your personal interest, but remember your family, remember your friends, remember how the society have held you over time, of course. So right now, we do not have to permutate the court, but I am hoping, and we are hoping, that at the end of the day, we will have justice from the courts.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister. It seems like the symbol of justice like we have out there, you know, with the veil on the face, it's like the veil is being taken out to look at people these days.
Of course.
All right, this is just to remind the people that it's about time, and thank you so much for being part of the program, The Law of the People and Governance, this week on Spectrum Television. It returns to your TV screen next week. Thank you so much, Barrister Martins Ukwe, who has been here with us to talk about this topic. Stay tuned. I'm sorry we can't take calls again at this moment. We'll catch you next week. My name is Rachel David White. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTv.ng. Good evening.